G'day there guys, it's your main man Markee, back at it again with another episode of r/Am I the A-hole. Now if you love this video like I love you, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbie, and enjoy the bloody good content. Posted by user Ridvo, titled, Am I the A-hole for not saying anything about the underwear? My 20-year-old daughter and her fiancé are currently staying with us. I love my daughter, but she is very difficult and I can't stand her fiancé. I gave them a deadline to move out because I can't take this anymore. They got into a massive fight the other day while my wife was out. I guess a pair of my wife's underwear got in their laundry and she thought he was cheating. I think the fact she immediately jumped to cheating shows how bad their relationship is. She was waving the underwear around and I recognized them because they had a floral print. But I just let this ridiculous fight go on. My wife came home after about 30 minutes and said they were hers. My wife asked if I didn't realize they were hers, and I accidentally laughed. My daughter burst into tears and won't talk to me. Her fiancé said we're screwed and left the house, but my wife thought it was funny. Come on, you know you're an a-hole for doing that, but it's hilarious. Oh my god, you're just taunting their crumbling relationship, OP. Stop poking the bear, it's not funny. You're the a-hole, but it's funny. Hoomst JPEG says, you might be the a-hole, but I am living for it. Edit. My personal verdict is you're the a-hole, but I'd like to invoke Crapman vs. Frickboy, which states that in times of outlandish or otherwise infantile behavior, a-holery may, subject to scrutiny, be permitted. Priceless. You're the a-hole, but not as bad as it sounds. Your daughter's relationship might be doomed, but not over the underwear. There were some underlying problems there that are manifesting by the day. You're the a-hole, but in that fatherly way, like the guy who's looking out for his daughter, and having a good laugh at the boyfriend's expense. Everyone sucks here, including me because I laughed too. Everyone sucks here, everyone but the mum. Mum took ownership of the floral panties right away. But she didn't confess to the cheating. Not the a-hole. If your first thought is cheating, not the other woman that lives in this house, you've got issues. My sister's undies ended up in my load once. Worse, since I had the same pair, I tried to put them on. She's a size -14 and I'm a size 14, so we're lucky the universe did not tear in half. Well, God, at least your load didn't end up in your sister's undies. God, Reddit, you're sick. He says, edit, dull, you're a female as well. Damn it, my joke isn't funny now. Not the a-hole. It's not your fight either. Also, it's wild that your daughter would think that her fiancé was bringing girls into your house, her own parents, to cheat on and accidentally leave underwear there. That's hilarious, and I would have probably laughed too. If I lived with another woman and the same thing happened to me, I feel like I would assume they were hers before anything else. My significant other and I keep our laundry separate, and stuff of his still ends up in mine. You forgot to add the cherry on top of the absurdity sundae that he added his trophy to their laundry. Yeah, like, his daughter either has major trust issues with her fiancé or she's nuts. Although at 20 years old, I wasn't exactly the most rational girl in the world either. That's a young age to commit to a marriage. Posted by user Not Adopting Her Baby. Titled, Am I the a-hole for not adopting my wife's child? I, 27 male, used to have a wonderful relationship with the woman I love, 26 female. However, 5 years ago, she got drunk and had a one-night stand and got pregnant from it. Can't be mine because I can't have kids due to horseback riding injury when I was a teen. Didn't get the guy's name and no way to find him, so he's out of the picture. My wife decided to keep it and we almost went through a divorce, but couples therapy made us decide to try again. We're still in therapy now, since I still have a hard time trusting her. So, she had her son. We talked about it a lot, and I made it clear that I'm okay taking on a step-parent role, but I wasn't willing to fully be his dad. I wouldn't adopt him, but I would help raise him and get him off to college. My wife agreed to this, became a stay-at-home mum so she could take care of him with help from her parents, and I've pretty much been the fun uncle-like guy. I play with him, buy him games, try my best not to resent him, and I'm in therapy for this, and mostly just stay out of the way of my wife's parenting. He even calls me uncle instead of dad. He knows I'm not his father, and is just happy to play video games with me and chill. Well, recently, my wife has started talking about me adopting him, something I'm not willing to do. I made it clear that if anything happened, he would go live with her parents and I'd send child support. If they couldn't take him, I wouldn't put him in the foster care or anything, but I also wasn't willing to take on the responsibility of being his father when I'm not. I'm happy being an uncle to another man's kid, since that's what life threw at me. This has greatly upset her, and she's trying to find a way to force me into adopting him. She's even been manipulating the poor kid, saying he should start calling me dad instead of uncle like he has his entire life, which is upsetting and confusing the poor boy. This situation has worked for the last 5 years, and I don't know why she's trying to change something that isn't broken, or force me into a role that I told her years ago I wasn't willing to accept, which she was fine with until just recently. Update. After hearing everything, I told my wife I was leaving and pursuing that divorce. I think I've been ready to do so for a while, but just needed the push. This has led to a complete meltdown, but I stayed firm, packed everything up, and moved in with my brother across town. I have already contacted the landlord to tell him I would pay for 2 more months' rent. After that, everything needs to be switched to her. Talking to my lawyer, it was verified that, due to the process I went through after the birth to establish I wasn't the father, I would not have to pay child support or alimony, which is something very rare and uncommon anyway where I live. He's already working on the paperwork. No idea when it'll happen, but once it does, I'll cut full contact. My wife has tried to call and text multiple times, but I've refused to talk. I'll post another update when I know more. Everyone sucks here. Everything about this is pretty terrible. Her cheating, you're purposefully distancing yourself from the child who is not yours through no fault of his own, not to mention you being the only father figure he's ever known. Dads don't need to be blood. You all sound like a-holes, except the little one, obviously, who I just feel sorry for. Sort your crap out for his sake. Exactly. If OP couldn't grow past his resentment of the kid not being his, then he never should have agreed to stay in the relationship. It's not fair to the child. Either he needs to be all in or all out. It's not that easy to just not resent. He's doing something better than being all out. He's still contributing to his life. It is sad he hasn't come along more, but he's still not a total a-hole. Everyone sucks here. I wholeheartedly disagree. Yes, on the surface, his acts are noble and with good intentions, and if anything are impressive and very admirable. But it's not really. He's a sort of dad figure with huge strings attached. If things go pear-shaped, he's out of there, and he's made that much clear. He doesn't see this child as his own. How confusing is it for a child to have a technical father figure in his life, one who is literally married to his mother, yet he refers to him as an uncle? The reason being, OP is keeping this poor little boy at an arm's length for a reason. He made the active choice to stay with his wife after a huge betrayal, but has not processed the realities of this clearly, has he? If he was all in, which he should be if he actively made the decision to stay, then he'd happily let this little one call him dad. He'd consider adopting him because he's all in, so why not? But he isn't. He wanted to stay in the relationship due to whatever benefits or positives for himself, but doesn't forgive his wife and doesn't fully accept this boy into his life. That's not fair, it is extremely selfish when you break it down. In which case, this little boy would have far more mental clarity if OP just decided to cut his losses and leave the relationship. It would at least give the boy consistency in his life and who the parental roles are for him. One parent who is a solid and consistent parent is better than 2, whereby one is wishy-washy. OP and his wife are both selfish a-holes. Poor little one, he didn't ask for any of this. Posted by user Acceptable2921, titled, Am I the a-hole for telling a friend of mine not to give my wife his business after she insulted me? Earlier this year, my wife started her own design business. It has been a dream of hers for some time. She automatically assumed I would help her with the legal documents, drafting, review, but no big deal. I was happy to do it even though I already have a full-time job that takes up a lot of my time and it requires some extra research on my part. Because this was not my regular job, sometimes I had to put work for her on the back burner. Any reasonable person should be able to understand this. I think, but not my wife. She felt entitled to be first priority, even though I explained to her that I had to prioritize the job that was actually paying our bills, which only upset her more. We had several arguments about this, and during one of them, she accused me of being lazy. She said that my job is easy and anyone could do it. I just didn't want to help her because I didn't believe in her. Never mind that I'd been spending my free nights and weekends doing work for her. That upset me, so I told her I was done. If she wanted someone to review her legal documents, then she should find a local firm and hire them. That upset her too, because her margins were already thin, so the extra expense didn't help, and she didn't mind letting me know how she felt about that decision. A friend of mine was recently looking for someone to do some interior design work for him. He had already talked to my wife, but I told him that if I was in his position, I would use someone more established and who wasn't a wreck 24/7. Basically, told him about our fights, and that based on how she's treated me lately, I questioned her mental fitness to do a project like this. He was surprised by that, but decided to take my advice and go with someone else. When my wife asked me to help her talk to him, I told her no because I'd already told him not to use her. This became another big fight and we are still fighting about it. She told me that this could have been a big step forward for her business, and because of what I did, it may mean she doesn't make it. I don't know if that's true or not, but I stand by my advice to him. She is an emotional wreck and in no frame of mind to help anyone. Am I the a-hole? This again is just another one of those messy marriage fights. You know, you guys aren't looking out for each other's best interests right now. It's very clear by how you're portraying this. If she's not in a emotionally well-off place, why wouldn't you just help her? Go to counseling with her, get her some help? I think OP realizes by doing this, by cutting off work opportunities that he could find for her, he's putting her in a much worse off place, and that's not helping the mental fortitude now, is it? The wife is definitely being an a-hole too by refusing to compromise and have her work be put on the back burner sometimes. It's very unrealistic for your hobby to take precedence over someone's main job. I'm sorry, Chief. Everyone sucks here. Jesus Christ, just get a divorce already. Unless your vows included making each other intentionally miserable till death do us part. And OP replies, we may be headed down that path. I don't know. It seems like she's difficult to be around all the time. To be clear, it doesn't sound like you're a delightful daily companion either by a long shot. You sound difficult to be around. She brings that out in me. If you bring out the worst of each other, why are you married? It wasn't always that way. Everyone sucks here. You're trash-talking your wife behind her back to your friend? Classy. I don't condone her lack of understanding with the legal documents and putting a giant burden on you, but I'd say you escalated it and you are the bigger a-hole. I didn't trash her. I told him how she'd been acting and said that I didn't think she was in the frame of mind to do it to his standards. You said she was a wreck 24/7. In what world is that not trashing? It's one thing to say she's a bit overworked right now. Can you give it a bit of time? It's another thing to say she is incapable. That is what I honestly believed. She is a nervous wreck. I don't see how she can take on a project this size the way things are right now. You do know that you can be angry with someone, but still respect them, right? I.e., I think she's got a lot on her plate and suggest seeking someone else. Your lack of respect for her at all, and your apparent delight in that, makes me think you're more than the a-hole. You sound, well, hideously unkind. It's hard to respect her when she clearly has no respect for me. Then leave. You're the a-hole. Posted by user CajSim, titled, Am I the a-hole for being upset my wife didn't make me a quesadilla? Okay, just to make sure we're clear, my wife and I get along great. It's a great marriage. This happened about a month ago, and it wasn't even a big deal, but it's one of those we both think we are right situations. This in no way affects our marriage now, I just want to know who was right. Here is the scenario. I work from home, so every morning I wake up at around 6:45 and start work around 7:15. My wife will sleep in, usually till around 8, and then she will wake up and make breakfast for the both of us. She does this every day, and she always cooks a great breakfast, and I am super appreciative. So one morning, my wife comes to my office and says, "I just really don't feel like cooking this morning. Would you be okay to eat cereal?" I said something along the lines of course, baby, that's totally fine, haha." My wife brings me a bowl of cereal, and I happily start to eat. Maybe 3 minutes later, I get the chance to take a short break from work, and I think to myself, oh, I'll go eat my breakfast with my wife. When I go to the kitchen, my wife is eating a freshly cooked quesadilla. Now, did I truly care? Not really. But years of listening to my mum guilt trip my dad must have kicked in. I said, "It's not that you didn't feel like cooking, you just didn't feel like cooking for me." Now my wife felt bad, and like she had been caught, and got up and made me a quesadilla, even though I said I was happy to eat cereal. Her point of view was this: making a quesadilla isn't really cooking. For her, that was the same as cereal. My point of view is this: it is cooking, and the fact that she felt bad kinda shows that I was a little bit right. Again, it doesn't matter, and I love my wife very much. She makes a wonderful breakfast for me every day, and I have no reason to complain. We are both super over it. What are y'all thoughts? Edit. For everyone saying I'm a bad husband and that you feel bad for my wife, I just want to reiterate that our marriage is great. Yes, my wife enjoys cooking and does a majority of the cooking. But I also do a lot around the house. It is definitely a partnership with both of us working together. As to why am I bringing this up a month later, and I must be so petty and immature, we had quesadillas for breakfast today. I had forgotten about it until this morning. I thought it would be an interesting discussion. Lastly, I love and appreciate my wife very much. On my 15-minute break this morning, we hugged and talked and even danced in the living room while our dog watched on the couch. As much as you may want to turn this one incident into what must be a miserable experience for my poor abused wife, that is just not an accurate depiction of our marriage. Now, all that being said, in this case, I am the a-hole. If my wife decided she didn't want cereal and instead cooked herself a full-course meal, she can do that and I shouldn't feel butthurt about it. My comment showed that my first instinct was to be petty and make her feel guilty. Even if I didn't intend that, that's what I did. Thank you for everyone's comments. Yeah, I do feel like he was being petty and trying to guilt trip her there. And of course, he justified it with he was thinking back to what his father did. And you know, it's understandable why he did that. It doesn't make it okay, and he should feel bad for doing that. I know I'd feel like a terrible person if I was the wife in this situation. He's making a huge deal out of something that really isn't a big deal. But at the end of the day, it is communication. He was communicating, albeit in the wrong way. So while I'm torn on it, I still agree that he is the a-hole, but obviously it didn't ruin anything. It was just one interaction. You're the a-hole. Heaven help she just feel like making herself food. I mean, it sounds like she brought you your cereal anyways. She cooks every day. She wanted one day to just make herself a little bite to eat, and no, her feeling bad doesn't mean you're a tiny bit right. It proves you guilt-tripped her for something minor. Would have not killed you to make your own breakfast. Also, reading the edits shows that OP understands how he's the a-hole and why. Nice to see someone who truly accepts their judgment and understands what they did wrong. Absolutely. Definitely. And I feel like there are so many stupid and petty arguments going on right now because we're all cooped up. There's a lot of stressful world events happening, and I don't think most of us understand the psychological toll we're all universally experiencing to some degree. I'm 26, and I've been living with my parents for the duration of quarantine, and I probably will be here for a while more. But when OP said he reverted to his mum's guilting behavior, I felt that. I have definitely reverted to my teenage antics multiple times, and my parents reverted to treating me like a teenager. Just the other day, my dad was annoying me for whatever reason, and he was like, because I am the adult, that's why. Ha! And I was like, oh crap, you're right, without even thinking twice. You're the a-hole, but you're also right? Let me explain. She totally did say she didn't feel like cooking this morning. What she meant to say was she didn't feel like making the usual 2-person breakfast production. I feel like you recognized this, but still felt the need to guilt trip her about it. That's kind of a dick move. She's not entirely blameless, like she totally could have just said what she meant, but that doesn't quite make her an a-hole. All things considered, the scale tips towards your a-hole. Ninja edit, I love that this is like the biggest problem y'all seem to have in an otherwise great marriage. And OP replies, we really do have an awesome marriage. We both work from home, so we are together all day every day. We got married in March 2020, so our whole marriage has been during quarantine. That being said, we still have yet to have any kind of fight. Edit, to add some clarification, this is not out of character for either of us. I've lived with multiple roommates and my family, I never fought with any of them. Except for Taylor, he knows what he did. And my wife only lived with her family, but she never really fought with her family either. We just are not the super sensitive type to get hurt feelings, and we talk things out. And if you want to know what happened to Taylor, he says, we had 3 guys living in a small 1-bedroom apartment. He started dating, and basically his girlfriend was always at our apartment. Like, she would be there when we went to sleep at 10 p.m, and then she would go home and come back at like 7 a.m. to hang out with him. My other roommate and I gave him the bedroom, but the only closet was in the room, so we all shared the closet. Well, he got to where he would yell at us for knocking on the door to go in and grab our clothes or whatever to get ready for bed. Basically, our kindness of offering him the room turned into claiming the only closet space was also his. This went on for several days after several peaceful attempts to work this out and be peacemakers. But he just kept getting more and more entitled. One day, I yelled at him in front of his girlfriend and went into the closet to get my pajamas at like 11:30 p.m. So, did he stop being an ass after that? It got a little better, but he moved out pretty soon after. Our new roommate was the absolute best. He was the best man at my wedding, and I was in his as well. Posted by user Marcellus, titled, Am I the a-hole for pushing my 17-year-old son for things that aren't his fault? My son is 17 years old, and over the past few months, he's been acting very peculiar, and we came to blows over this, and he spoke back to me saying that they're not his fault and he doesn't know what to do. Here is what I noticed from him. He's suddenly gone very lethargic very quickly. He'll get up, sit on his chair for about an hour, and be that tired that he'll sleep for another 3 or 4 hours, but will still be awake all night long. I suggested for him to go on walks as simple but effective exercises that will tire him out so he'll sleep at least 6 to 8 hours at night. He declines because he's tired. He stopped eating. This concerned me. He says that it's because he has zero appetite. I tried to make sure he was eating right when I first noticed this, back around last December time. He is obviously thinned out beyond belief. You can see an uncomfortable number of bones. I also believe that this might be why he's tired all day. He drinks literally all the liquid I buy from my food shop and then some. Like, he'll say that he's thirsty and has a really dry throat, and then he drinks a 2-liter bottle of Coke in literally 2 or 3 attempts. A literal sip for him is essentially drinking a full pint. He complains about having to go to the toilet more often. I told him it was because of the amount that he drinks. We had to stop twice when I was in the car with him the other day. The distance wasn't even 2 miles. Is me telling him that he needs to help himself worthy of me being the a-hole? Made a new account for this post. I mean, he can help himself for sure, but you can also help him by taking him to a doctor and seeing that it's not anything else first, because this is very quick, very fast onset of some serious stuff going on. I'm no doctor, but if you're peeing that much in a 2-mile trip, you might have something wrong with your kidneys or your bladder or something. You really might want to get that checked out. Because even if you're drinking that much water, I could scull 2 or 3 liters of water right now, and I wouldn't be peeing every 2 minutes. That's just not normal. So yeah, purely saying that he needs to help himself and you not offering to help him makes you an a-hole. High Class Cool says, you ever think the boy might be, ill? Yeah, you're the a-hole. You've gotten multiple warning signs, and all you can think to do is yell at and punish him. This sounds like the son might be diabetic, and if it is, it's very serious. Please take your son to get some blood work done ASAP before he has organ failure. That is my thought when I saw tired, thirsty, and peeing a lot. Same. This reads like something out of a textbook. That and the casual mention of chugging 2-liter bottles of Coke in one sitting. God, I'll never forget watching my childhood best friend down 2 liters of Kool-Aid in about a minute just before she was diagnosed when we were 12. I hope OP takes him to the hospital like today. This so much. My brother-in-law suddenly dropped weight, was tired all the time, and was chugging apple juice and root beer like crazy. Turns out he has diabetes. He spent several days in ICU. Yep, I would run out of breath just trying to put on clothes in the morning and chalked up all the water drinking to it being July. Dropped 30 pounds in a month, and when I got to the ER and described my symptoms, they're like, yep, you definitely have type 1. Spent 5 days in the hospital just to get back to normal. Seeing as this has been going on for literal months, I hope the poor kid's body doesn't shut down from DKA. You're the a-hole for not taking him to a doctor. That sounds like diabetes and or depression. If it's diabetes and not being checked or controlled, especially after drinking entire liters of soda, he's going to kill himself or damage his body beyond repair. He's 17. Do something about it or force him to go before he turns 18 and refuses to go to the doctor. Posted by user No Car Keys, titled, Am I the a-hole for not letting my dad use my car until my parents pay for my broken laptop? I, male 19, started letting my little brother borrow my laptop when his school switched to online. He used it during the day, and then I'd pick it up after work. I live in the apartment right next door to my parents, so it wasn't no trouble. After he went on vacation, they asked if he could keep using it so he's entertained at home, and I let him. 3 weeks ago, he broke it going down the stairs. That laptop cost me almost $600, and I was mad. My parents said they were sorry, and I told them as long as they paid me back for a new one, it's alright. My mum told me they're not going to spend so much money on a laptop, and I should have bought a cheaper one anyways. We sort of got into an argument over it, but my parents still refuse to give me any money. A week goes by, and they still don't want to pay. It's not like they can't afford it. They're both still working their regular hours. They literally had enough to do a whole barbecue and buy a ton of fireworks for the 4th of July. My online classes are supposed to be starting in August, and I'm getting impatient because I really don't have enough to buy a new one myself. I'm barely keeping up with my bills, and I've had to cut back on how much I spend on groceries. So I decided to stop letting my dad use my car to go to work in the mornings. He's been using it since last year because my mum uses theirs and my job isn't that far. It's a 15-minute bus ride away, plus I don't like to drive a lot. Usually, I stop by their house before I go to work and leave the car keys for him by the door since he leaves after me. The night before, I texted him and said that he's not driving my car anymore until I get my money, so he'll have to find another way to get to work in the morning. Next morning, he was banging on my door. He started yelling in my face about what an ungrateful, spoiled child I was, all because of a laptop. He ended up taking an Uber when he realized I wasn't going to change my mind. Every day since, they both fight with me over the car because he doesn't want to waste his money on Uber. They've been calling me names and blowing up my phone, and it's starting to overwhelm me. I have no peace at home because they're always standing right outside my door when I get home, and my dad yells at me every morning. I've already told him if they give me the money for my laptop, I'll let him use my car, but they still don't want to. They said they shouldn't have to pay because they took care of me my whole life, and the least I could do is not make it hard on my dad to get to work. It's gotten real hostile here, and I don't know what to think anymore. Am I being an a-hole for going about it this way? This makes me feel really bad actually, because, it's turning into you being an a-hole because they are self-destructing so much. And it's one of those where you don't want to look at it, you kind of just want to walk away while everything's exploding around you. I don't get why the wife can't just drop him off to work in her car and then go to her work and just leave home an hour early. These are sacrifices that are possible to make in a lifetime, I think they are very lucky to still be working during all this time and still be having an income, but it does sound like they can easily fork out $600 to pay back for damaged property that this sibling is not paying for. There's too many people dodging paying him $600 when OP deserves and is entitled to that new laptop that was broken when he was giving it up. No one else is entitled to the car or the laptop until that is replaced. So I don't think OP's the a-hole here. $600 is hardly anything for a computer, definitely on the cheaper end. Since your bro is 12, they should pay you for a new one. Then maybe they could have him do chores or something. You have classes coming up and will 100% need it. You'll need to save up as much as you can now, no reason to put excess wear and tear on your car for the time being. Plus, what happens if they break the car? Will they avoid paying for that too? I hate when parents hold the fact they raised you over your head. We raised you, so we're entitled to not pay you back for your broken laptop that you need. This is some seriously flawed thinking, definitely not the a-hole. In most cases, people choose to have children and thus commit to the cost of raising them at least until the age of 18. Not the a-hole, but I think in your place, I'd tell them that since they won't pay for the laptop, I'm selling the car. Then I'd move the car to a friend's house or park it somewhere else until this gets settled. Or, if you think you can trust them to not mess with the car, tell them it's not drivable because you've cancelled the insurance and stopped buying gas for it, so you can save money up for a new laptop. Oh crap, this is a great idea. I need a laptop much more than a car. Since you won't pay for my laptop, I'll have to get the money from selling my car, then see what happens. And actually do it if they don't budge. If you don't need the car, you actually do need the laptop. Alright, and I think that's where we're going to leave today's episode, guys. I really do hope you enjoyed the content today. If you guys loved watching it as much as I loved making it, I would love for you to subscribe to the channel already if you haven't. Tell me what you thought of it down in the comments below, maybe like the video, who knows. I'd also like to take this time to thank my awesome Patreon and channel members. Without you guys, I don't know what I'd do. I'd probably be homeless on the streets of Ireland, crying, Irish dancing all over town. It would just be a mess. But no, for real, you guys are up on the screen now. Thank each and every one of you guys. And if you personally want to join the club yourself, there are links down in the description below. There's also the join button next to the subscribe button. Small monthly fee, but hey, it goes a long way to help me create more awesome content. Well, with that said, guys, I hope you do have a lovely day, night, sleep, evening, day at work, day at school, whatever you're up to. I hope you keep awesome today. You're looking amazing, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.